Thank you, everyone. Thanks for taking some time to learn a bit about Rocket Dollar, where we help you unlock your IRA money, keep the same tax treatments, but instead of stocks, bonds, and mutual funds, we allow our
Thank you,
customers to
everyone.
invest in
Thanks for
private
taking
and
some time to
alternative
learn a bit
investments.
about
So this is
Rocket
commonly
Dollar,
where we
known
help
as
you
a self-directed
unlock your
IRA, and we're
IRA money,
excited
keep
to
the same
present
tax
this
treatments,
as
but instead of
a
stocks, bonds,
tool
and
for
mutual
you and the
funds,
Money
we allow
Show
our
Thank you,
customers to
everyone.
invest in
Thanks for
private
taking
and
some time to
alternative
learn a bit
investments.
about
So this is
Rocket
commonly
Dollar,
where we
known
help
as
you
a self-directed
unlock your
IRA, and we're
IRA money,
excited to
keep the same
present
tax
this
treatments, but
as
instead of
a
stocks, bonds,
tool
and
for
mutual
you and the
funds,
Money
we allow
Show
our
Thank you,
customers to
everyone.
invest in
Thanks for
private
taking
and
some time to
alternative
learn a bit
investments.
about
So this is
Rocket
commonly
Dollar,
where we
known
help
as a
you
self-directed
unlock your
IRA, and we're
IRA money,
excited to
keep the same
present
tax
this
treatments, but
as
instead of
a
stocks, bonds,
tool
and
for
mutual
you and the
funds,
Money
we allow
Show
our
Thank you,
customers to
everyone.
invest in
Thanks for
private
taking
and
some time to
alternative
learn a bit
investments.
about
So this is
Rocket
commonly
Dollar,
where we
known
help
as
you
a self-directed
unlock your
IRA, and we're
IRA money,
excited to
keep the same
present
tax
this
treatment. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for taking some time to learn a bit about Rocket Dollar, where we help you unlock your IRA money, keep the same tax treatments, but instead of stocks, bonds, and mutual funds, we allow our customers to invest in private and alternative investments. So this is commonly known as a self-directed IRA, and we're excited to present this as a tool for you in the Money Show audience. So we're going to start first with what is an IRA. So before we get into alternatives and private investments inside of IRAs, just what are the genesis of IRA accounts overall? So they were created by a law in 1974. So you do the math, it's basically 50 years old. So it seems like they've been around forever, but it's really just 50 years old. And these accounts are tied to an individual, not a company. So this is distinct and different from your 401k plan. And you can only contribute to an IRA if you have US based income. And what we found is that most IRAs actually end up getting started as a rollover of old company 401k plans. And the reason why is because they only let you contribute a certain amount of money per year, which in the grand scheme of things is not that much. So for 2025, and this will change for 26, it's only $7,000 that you can contribute in cash. And if you yourself are over 50 years old, just like the IRA, you can contribute $8,000 as a catch-up contribution. So now that goes into what are self-directed IRAs, are the types we offer here at Rocket Dollar, or what we like to refer as alternatives capable IRAs. So the IRAs have always allowed you to put anything inside of the account that's always been allowed by the IRS. So that actually would include, by virtue of that statement I just made, in assets outside of the New York Stock Exchange. And what we found is our customers typically know about a private deal, a real estate deal, some sort of investment opportunity into a small private company that they end up sourcing on their own. And then we facilitate at Rocket Dollar the ability to create an IRA to make that investment with dollars that you already have in your IRA. Presumably, they came from old 401k accounts. So, what does that mean overall? So, that means that in an IRA, whether it's self-directed like the kinds we offer at Rocket Dollar, or a traditional one that you might have where you just have stocks, bonds, and mutual funds at a large financial services or brokerage firm, you can select any active or passive investment and you get to avoid those capital gains tax. Accessing alternatives will allow you to move differently from a return standpoint than the stock market. So here we're talking about how one particular asset class may not perform in lockstep the same as the stock market, for example. And we find that as customers accumulate larger and larger portfolios for their own investments, that they want the ability to diversify beyond those stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. And as long as that private investment is legally named in the IRA, our customers are able to retain the same tax treatment as the stocks that they own inside of an IRA account at a traditional brokerage firm. So if I were to go a little bit further and define what are other than stocks and bonds can the IRA accounts hold, because I just gave a very broad definition in the last slide, which is anything allowed by the IRS. Well, that would include things such as precious metals, real estate, private equity, crypto, farmland, energy partnerships that are private. You could also make private loans. We have a lot of customers actually make private credit or private loans to individuals for real estate projects using their IRA money. You could also become a limited partner in a venture capital or small private equity fund, or make a direct angel investment into a startup. So the laws from ERISA, which created IRAs in 1974, don't limit you to specific investments. They actually just say that as long as it's allowed by the IRA, and they only codify a couple of investments that aren't allowed. So this, for purposes of just usually for us to take a view and understanding of familiarity on behalf of the audience, we just take a second for you guys to reflect and think to yourself that, have you ever used or even heard of a self-directed IRA? So an IRA account that has the same tax treatment as an IRA at a brokerage firm for a tax treatment standpoint, but instead of stocks, bonds, and mutual funds, you can invest in private alternative investments like I detailed in the previous slide. So just kind of a simple answer, yes, no. A lot of people we've found, even financial advisors, tax professionals, have actually never heard of these types of accounts. And then we've found a number of people who have heard of these accounts, but have not yet opened one themselves. And we'll kind of get into maybe one of the reasons why that may be the case towards the end of the presentation. But um, the IRS does specifically state, and this has been in place since 1974, what your IRA cannot access. And by virtue of what is codified that you cannot access, it allows you to invest in certain everything else that's an investment, whether passive or active. So you can't invest in an S corp. It's just due to taxation issues, a life insurance policy or an insurance policy in general using your IRA monies, and then collectibles. So that's kind of what we like to refer to as show off assets. So think classic baseball cards, classic cars, or artwork, or jewelry, for example. So precious metals like gold bars can be held inside of IRAs, but not jewelry that obviously is designed to sort of have an aesthetic angle to it as well, are not allowed inside of IRAs. So these are the items that specifically are not allowed in IRAs, which means everything else can. And if we were to continue and go back again to the types of IRAs at Rocket Dollar, we are a full service IRA provider. We currently have customers in all 50 states. So we have over 50,000 customers, roughly $12 billion in overall customer assets in almost 10,000 different registered private investments. So we offer IRAs of all types, just like any other brokerage firm that you're used to. So we offer IRAs, the most common of which are traditional IRAs and Roth IRAs. So, and I'll explain the difference between Roth and traditional in a second, and even the less common types of IRAs, including SEPs, inherited, or minor IRAs. So we have a lot of customers actually open up an IRA account on behalf of a minor child just to get them started from an investment standpoint in a very tax advantaged account. And what all IRAs have in common is great tax advantage treatment. So they have no capital gains tax, they have tax deferral, and they are not a brokerage account. So if you see the term brokerage account, that usually refers or is synonymous with the term taxable account. So even if you're making stock and bond decisions and you're purchasing them on your own, a brokerage account is a taxable account. An IRA account is a tax advantaged account with no capital gains and tax deferral for decades. So the types of IRAs that our customers use the most, and just overall in the United States, are traditional IRAs, mostly funded by virtue of a rollover of an old 401k. So if you worked at a company, that company sponsored a 401k plan, and you are no longer an employee of that company, then you are eligible to either keep that money in the 401k, move that money to your new company's 401k, or the third option that gives you the most flexibility, and what we see most common, is that you can roll over that old company 401k into an IRA account. So has the same tax status. So if you made pre-tax contributions to that old company 401k, then you would open up a traditional IRA because you have never paid taxes on it. And that's where you were likely to have most of your retirement funds already. And then the second most popular account is the Roth IRA. And Roth is always capitalized, not because it's the beginning of the term, but it's named after a late senator from the 90s from Delaware, Senator Roth. So what they propose there, it's got great long-term tax treatment. So it is tax-free completely after 5 years of opening the account. And the overall premise here is that any monies that you put into a Roth IRA, subject to making under certain income limits, and I can give rough ranges on that in a second, allow you to pay tax on monies first, then contribute to a Roth IRA. And then whatever that money grows to over time, it's tax deferred with no capital gains, as we discussed in the last slide. Then you can take that money out without paying taxes, no matter what it grows to. So we find that a lot of people find that the Roth IRA is a great sort of tool for them to pay taxes now, essentially, and pay no taxes later, after which point, let's say a decade, 2 decades, 3 decades down the road, the account could have grown quite significantly from the original contribution amount. So we like to refer to it as it's a short-term sacrifice because you're paying the taxes here in present time, 2025, late 2025 as we speak today. But if and when you decide to take a distribution from that IRA account, let's say in the year 2050, 25 years from now, whatever that account has grown to, you will owe no taxes on that particular money. So that's one thing. Those are the two types. Now, the types of IRAs at Rocket Dollar, where we do self-directed IRAs or alternative investments inside of IRAs, we have two flavors for you. And it really just depends on your the number of investments you're going to do, and maybe the comfort level, or if you're new to this particular concept of investing in alternative and private investments using your IRA. So option one for maybe a one-off investment that you want to do in the private realm, or you're just kind of new to self-directed investing in general, is the custodial IRA. And that's contrasted against the checkbook IRA, which we'll talk about in a minute. But to stick with its direct custody or the custodial IRA, it's a very simple process. So on the website at Rocket Dollar, you would just open the account. So it's a 9-step flow. It takes about 2.5 minutes. And once that account number is established, then you have the ability to fund, and we talked about that earlier, typically by either a cash contribution limited to $7,000 per year, or you would move over an old company 401k plan, or even transfer an existing IRA from an outside provider to us. So it's easier to manage for beginning investors. If you're doing really less than 10 transactions overall per year, and you're just doing maybe one or two passive deals, such as a real estate syndication, making a limited partnership investment into a private company, this direct custody account really does well for you because you open the account, you fund it, and then you submit those documents to make this investment to us for just a quick review. We have a turnaround time of 2 business days, so we just make sure that the investment itself is eligible for an IRA. And then once it's approved, we will have you sign those documents. We'll fill it out with the correct naming convention for the IRA. And then the funds in your IRA will be dispersed and wired to that investment issuer. So now you're effectively holding this IRA or private investment inside of your custodial Rocket Dollar self-directed IRA. Now, the checkbook control is when we have a customer who plans to do many, many transactions inside of the account or have multiple investments inside. And it's essentially a setup, just to keep it very, very simple, where we create an IRA, which then itself we establish using our technology one entity, a trust or an LLC. And because it's a trust or an LLC, that entity is allowed to have a bank account of which is controlled by you. So we do all this in one step in our sign-up flow on the checkbook IRA. So think of it as just having an IRA bank account that we nest inside of your IRA. So the pros are that once you have this set up, it's a very fast transaction time because you don't have to submit those documents to review for us. You execute those documents using the name of your IRA. And then when you're ready to fund the investment, you actually go into our integrated portal and disperse the funds for your investment. So probably pretty similar to how you're operating your IRA today, where you have cash in your account, you choose to buy a particular stock, and when you choose to invest in the stock, monies will then get dispersed into that for that transaction to cover it. So that's the checkbook IRA structure. And it's for those that maybe are doing real estate investments primarily or plan to do multiple investments per year. The cons, and it's not so much of a con, number one, when I say longer to set up, it just takes us an extra 3 to 4 business days to set up the trust and the bank account. So as opposed to one day, it's 3 to 4 days, and this is just the initial setup of the account. And since you're the one controlling and moving the funds around, it's a little bit more complicated because you're in control of a bank account that is inside of your IRA and therefore has the tax treatment of an IRA. And obviously, if you have questions, you can go to our website at rocketdollar.com and learn more, and or even talk to us. We have a phone number right there on the upper right of our homepage at the website as well. But again, going back to the difference between the custodial and the checkbook. So now, if I were to Harvey Ball and bullet point this out, it's more appropriate for real estate investors who are managing one or even multiple properties. It's a little bit more flexible for people doing advanced cryptocurrency or advanced alternative investing. It is a bank account that you control to manage your private investments. We create the trust on your behalf. And again, it takes a few more business days for us to set up, but then after it's set up, it's actually faster to execute and get into your investments and do that. So the diagram below just shows that at Rocket Dollar on the left, we create the IRA account. We establish and create the trust. We establish and create the partner bank account, which is actually embedded inside of your IRA and also accessed from within our portal. And once you have identified the private investment you want to do, review the documents, execute those investment documents, then you disperse the funds because you have control over that IRA bank account. And that's how the checkbook control contrasts against that custodial IRA. And I mentioned at the beginning that why have maybe folks heard about these types of accounts, self-directed or alternatives IRAs, but not taken advantage of it? Well, one of the things that we've heard after being in business and having tens of thousands of customers is that the fees are pretty high with the competitors, or they're opaque. They're variable, so they're kind of based on a percentage, even though you're the person finding the private deals. So the deal reviews, it takes a little bit of time. It's clunky. If you happen to be a checkbook client at a competitor, then they send you off to an outside bank portal. So it's not integrated within ours, all things that we offer. And again, maybe in 2025, this is maybe more the standard, but at Rocket Dollar, we pride ourselves on actually having phone numbers so people can call in for service during business hours. So again, on our side, we're just a flat, transparent fee. We have a 2 business day deal review service level agreement that will get the review and the approval back for your document. We create the trust and we integrate that bank account directly inside your portal with us. And then we also have phone support on the front end for sales, and then on the back end for customer support to walk you through any hiccups you have as you get more and more familiar with using the accounts here at Rocket Dollar. So again, I mentioned earlier that it's 5 minutes or less. We measured this over thousands of instances. It's typically been under 3, since most people tend to have their name, address, phone number, and email handy with them. So we have the fastest setup in the industry. And then from there, you're able to basically fund your account. And this is no different than any IRA from an outside provider, a rollover from a 401k. You do that from within our portal at Rocket Dollar. And then once your funds are there, you can actually, if you're a checkbook control customer, you directly disperse those funds after you've executed investment paperwork. And if you're a custodial customer, you would upload the paperwork to us. We would do a review within 48 business hours, get back to you to make sure it's eligible for an IRA investment. And then once it's executed, we disperse those funds on your behalf. So that's the kind of the step 1, 2, and 3, or open, fund, and invest that we have here at Rocket Dollar. And I mentioned it a couple times, but flat, transparent fee, just so you can compare us against anyone else that you might be looking at. A traditional IRA, a other self-directed IRA provider, our setup and fees are basically just kind of flat, regardless of the size of your account, regardless of the number of investments that you do. So at the custodial level, it's 360. At that checkbook level, it's 600. So if you do the math, that if you are someone who has, let's say, 2 private investments for $50,000 each or 100,000, on a percentage basis, we're very, very competitive, not just against traditional IRA providers, but definitely against other self-directed and alternatives capable IRA providers. And from there, everyone just gets started on our website, goes through those 3 steps of the open, fund, and invest. And once you get that deal executed, then you're on your way with a completed deal. And you now have a private investment inside of an IRA that could be distinguished and diversified for your overall portfolio against your other IRA, tax advantage, and even taxable investment assets. So that's what we do here at Rocket Dollar. We only offer IRA accounts that do private and alternative investments. As a career financial services individual, I felt like it was a big, big missing piece in a lot of mass affluent investors' portfolios. And in 2018, set out to start Rocket Dollar. And of course, today we're in excess of $12 billion of customer assets and helping them achieve that diversification outside of the stock, bond, and mutual fund market, while doing so in a ultra tax advantaged account like an IRA or Roth IRA. And here's the information that you could get to us, but we're happy to kind of share this later in an email as well. But again, phone number 855-762-5383. And that's just a number for you to be able to call and ask the general questions that might be specific to you or your situation, or things that you didn't quite understand or want some clarifications on. But we're happy to have you reach out to us at Rocket Dollar. And we pride ourselves, again, on being able to answer the phone and talk to people and help them become knowledgeable, confident, and in a position to move forward with diversifying their assets using Rocket Dollar IRAs. Thank you very much.